Far, the demonstration has been very, very peaceful, and all your members have comported yourselves. We are aware that there's a raging controversy by the point that you have raised in your resolution. We are aware, and as at now, we are also aware that negotiations are also underway in trying to resolve some of these issues.
The teachers' union are expected to meet the National Labour Commission on Wednesday to address issues concerning their strike.
Meanwhile, the strike announced by NAGRAT and the Coalition of Concerned Teachers appears to have been ignored in some schools, especially senior high schools in Kumasi. Joy News checks indicate members of the unions in these schools were either unaware of the action or got the information rather late. Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin, however, reports some teachers indeed stayed away from the classrooms.
At the Assam cluster of schools, pupils were seen loitering around because their teachers were not in class. Many of them took advantage of the teacher's absence to play around or simply idle. Some of them who spoke off camera said they preferred spending time in school to going home early. Rashid Fozia, a JHS pupil of Assam Mixed Experimental, was critical of their teacher's action, especially because of its impact on BEC candidates.
Very bad, because they are not teaching us. Even the final year students, it will affect them, because they will write their final exams very soon.
Here at the Anglican Senior High School, the situation was different. School was in session.
Yesterday and today, we realized that our colleague teachers were teaching, and you can't also decide to stay out. So when it's your time is due, you also have to go to class and teach. So we were teaching not because we are going against them. And finally, we also heard that the strike action has been, the date is changed from, I think, 15th to 20th. So when we were teaching, we thought that it's just a change of dates.
Meanwhile, students at the Kumasi Polytechnic say the Polytechnic strike means they have to find extra money for their upkeep in school. They explained it will eventually have a greater impact on their academic work.
We are starting our exams Thursday. So if the final year, if the strike comes on, that means the exams is going to postpone until the time they will come back. And we, the students, we have no money by our side, so it will affect us in financial problem because all our money has been finished.
Next week we'll be starting examination, and then if this strike is on, that means the examination period should be extended, of which it will affect the budget of each and every student.
Timetable have already come out. We are going to have our exam that will be 23rd to 12th of next month. And here's the case, the lecturers have decided to go on strike. That is going to affect our academics.
Mohamed Nuruddin's report for Joy News.
Government has commissioned a study to ascertain how much Ghana stands to lose or gain if it goes ahead to sign the controversial economic partnership agreement with the European Union. The Trade Ministry says findings from the study are expected to be available ahead of the October 1, 2014 deadline for the signing of the Pact. Sector Minister Haruna Idrisu is worried most of the discussions on the EPA has focused on emotional sentiments with very little education on what the agreement is about.
Exports to the European market, Ghana's largest trade partner, would attract tariffs beyond this deadline, a situation the Trade Minister fears could spell doom for the country's economy. The Trade Minister, who was addressing a stakeholder forum with business community, insists government has no definite position on the pact yet, though he believes failure to sign could have serious implications for the economy.
I've heard many a times in the Ghanaian media, private sector companies indicating that we don't know the content of the EPA. We have not seen it. We have not read it. I now can report authoritatively that we have sent original copies of what is being negotiated and discussed to all the private sector players in Ghana. And we are inviting your final comments and inputs to inform our heads of state when they meet in June or July to conclude the agreement with the European Union. We must see an end to the, I don't want a strong word of cynicism, that we haven't seen the document, we have not read the content, we don't understand it. The consultation have been ongoing since 2007.
He explains the EPA will grant Ghana 100% access to the European market, except for rice and sugar, while EU countries will have 75% access to Ghanaian market, duty and quota-free. Economist Dr. Isibe Yebua also affirmed why it is in Ghana's interest to sign the trade pact.
The issue is not really about the 380 million that we are losing. Of course, the job and the job creation and then the employment that will come in, for me, will come to compensate for whatever loss that we were going to have at the end of the day. Because we're going to have enough expansion. The FDIs are going to flow in because they are going to target the European market because now it is free. The corporate taxes are going to increase, and the individual income tax, that those that are going to get employed, their income tax are going to increase, and both the backward and the forward linkage that we'll have for this economy will mean that the domestic taxes is rather going to go much higher than the trade tariffs that we're going to lose.
ECOWAS members are expected to converge this month to finalize the agreement after the regional body failed to reach a consensus on the deal during its meeting in Ivory Coast last March.
Research on energy use in Ghana has shown an increasing number of Ghanaians resorted to charcoal and firewood for their fuel in the last 4 years, marking a turning point in efforts to discourage the destruction of the environment. The report by the Energy Center in collaboration with other partners indicates that until 2010, the use of charcoal and firewood was on the decline.
Data on the population's access to energy and its use has been difficult to come by, especially for researchers and investors in the country. This informed the decision of the Energy Commission to set up the task force to assist in gathering data and provide a platform to collate information on the sector. The multi-institutional task force headed by the Energy Center at the KNUST compiled a report on solar-powered facilities, ECG and grid-connected communities, lighting and cooking sources, and fuel retail outlets across the country. The coordinator, Gifty Sewa Mensah, outlined the benefits of this project, which was funded by the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Partnership.
The fact that data has been made accessible to all is very beneficial for those who need the data. For instance, if a student needs data to do some research, now it's easily available, whereas before it wasn't. It would be difficult. You perhaps had to travel to Accra, to GSS to get it, or to the Energy Commission. But right now you can sit in the comfort of your room once you have a modem and access such data. So it's going to promote research, it's going to promote investment, as in investors have data available and that can help them to make informed decisions. It's also going to promote informed policy making.
The report blamed the increase in the use of charcoal and firewood on the challenges with the supply of LPG.
2010, 2011, in the early part of 2012, there were shortages of LPG, which may have derailed efforts towards reaching that target. But I think that from 2013 up till now, there's been a fair supply of LPG to the market, and which would have boosted the use of LPG, so that we should be heading towards being able to achieve our 50% household target by 2020. And I think that if we can sustain the supply of LPG into the market, it should be quite exciting going forward as a country.
He asked the perennial challenges with gas supply be addressed comprehensively to save the destruction caused the environment.
In a related development, the UN Secretary General's Special Envoy on Climate Change, John Ejekun-Kufuor, has called for efforts by journalists to educate and inform world leaders on the need to help reverse the rapid deterioration of the environment as a result of climate change. Speaking at the launch of the Africa Climate Change Guidebook for Journalists in Accra, he stressed the initiative forms part of efforts to intensify media reportage on the negative impact of climate change.
According to him, climate change threatens to reverse many of the development gains that Africa has made, especially in the area of food and water security and political and economic stability of nations. He stressed addressing these dangers and the negative impact required a lot more effort in the areas of education and sensitization by journalists.
very important compendium has been produced to assist media to spread a good message around and to quicken people to awareness that if they don't do it right, the future is very, very bleak. Please, media should use this to equip itself to send the message out. Send the message out in such a way that it would become a political, very political issue, so our policymakers will know, our governments will know that if they do not hasten to take the right policies, the people would hold them to account. When the politicians get to know that this is the major political issue on which their political fortunes will turn, I believe they will give priority attention to adopting the right policies.
He added, both developed and developing countries must live up to their responsibilities in safeguarding the environment by taking steps to implement commitments made to reduce emissions harmful to the atmosphere. Minister of Education, who read a speech on behalf of the President, said a national climate policy has been developed by government as part of its commitment to mitigating its impact.
So in dealing with climate change, we need to consider and address sector-specific impacts and their interrelationships. It is for this reason that we as a government have been making more efforts to integrate climate change and its effects into Ghana's national development planning and budgeting processes. We have integrated climate change and disaster risk reduction measures into all phases of national development planning, particularly across the sectors of our national lives.
Describing the guidebook as part of UNESCO's overall effort to raise awareness on climate change and how journalists can reflect that in their practices, country representative in charge urged journalists to intensify its efforts.
African countries are among the areas most affected by climate change, with significant consequences on the health and livelihood of populations. The concern over the devastating effects of climate change on Africa have been expressed by leaders in various fora, important as it is to the common person in Africa. Climate change is not adequately covered by the media. I'm hopeful that not only shall we see increased coverage of climate change, but also the media will work on providing more platforms for citizens to engage in dialogue over these issues that affect them.
The launch of the guidebook brought together stakeholders in the field of academia, politics, science and technology to discuss and build consensus on how to deal with climate change in the sub-region. Matilda Pomagan for Joy News.
UN Secretary Pupils of the Kologono RC Boys Basic School Tuesday had to share classrooms with their schoolmates from other classes after a storm the previous night ripped the roof of one of the school blocks and collapsed a part of it.
This was the scene at the Kologono RC Boys Basic School when the news team visited. Carpenters were spotted removing some of the roofing sheets which hung loosely after the rainstorm. Almost half of the school was left without a roof, compelling authorities to combine classes. The teacher's staff common room had to be converted into a classroom. According to the headmaster Wilson Ajolulu, the storm could have posed great danger to the pupils had it occurred during school hours.
Well, I feel very sad because these young ones are supposed to be learning today, but because of this distraction, they were just roaming about. Because considering the number of students, put them together, let's say 2 classes in a room, is just too much. And so nothing really seriously happened today.
He lamented the theft of the roofing sheets that came off during the storm.
The community said that the least thing they get in this school is a Christmas bonus for them, so they ran for it. Yesterday people were struggling to steal the iron sheet. Let me use the word steal, the iron sheet away, and we were chasing them. We were only 2, my watchman and myself. When we passed there, they turned the other way. But those that are to be taken, they've taken them away. And the few that we had, we kept them.
While some pupils were surprised at the scale of destruction caused by the rainstorm, others called for a long-lasting solution to ensure such destruction is not recorded in the school again.
Early this morning when I came, we were all surprised. We could see that the walls have broken because of the disaster yesterday, because of the storm which happened. If, like, let's say today, the sun was to shine, we didn't have a place to sit because you could see that the roof have been spoiled, and because of that, due to that, the sun will come into the classroom and it will affect the children.
The next time they are opening the sheet, all I think is that that's be nailed properly so that next time when it rains heavily, the rain won't damage the ceiling.
We're taking a break now. There'll be more news. Stay tuned. The National Health Insurance Authority in the Stifi South District of the Muahafu region has recorded a significant increase in the active membership of the scheme from over 67,500 persons in 2012 to nearly 82,000 in 2013. The increment, representing 19.6%, was achieved through door-to-door and mass community registrations, mostly in the rural areas.
Out of the 81,348 active members, 15,231 of them were registered at the organized community registration exercises. The scheme in the Sutifi South District was also able to increase their indigents from 1,894 in 2012 to 2,340 in 2013. Interestingly, most of the people who have been registered through the mass community registration exercises do not return to Shidiam, the district capital, to pick up their identity cards, which will give them free access to health care. In order to ensure that registered members of the scheme receive their identity cards, the NHIA office in the district introduced a door-to-door card distribution exercise. The NHIA identity card distribution team visited several farming communities, including Trebidi, Subresu, and Kunkutreso in the Sutifi South District. The unit committee chairman of Subresu, Franklin Jogbedi, commending the Sutifi South NHIA officials for the door-to-door ID card distribution, said that it eased their burdens of traveling to Shidiam for the cards.
Mojuma no eso nipa se na hwede mu health insurance for mu se mojuma ye tifie kura na modi mu yi ye card e dia pre no ye nsai lorry fa biom no aboa babre nyame nhira mu munya ne saada maye.
The public relations officer of the NHIA in the Sutifi South District, Musa Mohammed, noted that since the introduction of the door-to-door exercise, the scheme was able to distribute 5,561 ID cards in 2013.
Some of them, they refuse to come for the ID cards. Some of them may complain that they don't have lorry-fares so that they can even come to the office for their cards. Some of them, due to forgetfulness, they can't even remember that their ID cards are in. At first, we were always at the office, which the clients were coming for their cards themselves, but we thought that when we go to them, the distribution will be more easy than to be in the office and distribute the cards.
Nesta Kafui's Ajuman's reports for Joy News.
First Lady Lordina Mahama is asking especially men and other influential persons in society to learn to take responsibility for their own failures and desist from accusing women for their woes and adversities in life. The First Lady gave that admonition when she inspected ongoing construction works of a vocational institute at the Gambaga Witches Camp in the East Maputo district of the Northern region, where she also presented food items to the inmates.
Vocational training school for children and inmates of the Gambaga Witches Camp, when completed, will be a fulfillment of President Mahama's promise to them when he visited the community last year. The institute will provide facilities for residents of the community and surrounding areas to acquire various vocational skills so they can live productive lives and earn an income. Inmates of the camp sang native songs to welcome the First Lady. The First Lady, after interacting with them, donated 30 bags of rice, quantities of cups, washing basins, 100 pieces of cloth, among others, for their upkeep. She said the women have a lot to contribute and need help to fully integrate into society.
The neglect of any segment of society will only retard the development of our nation. The plight of our mothers and sisters here is a national tragedy. Men and other influential persons in society must learn to take responsibility for their own failures. Accusing and blaming our mothers and grandmothers for our own adversities in life and banishing them to such a life of neglect is unacceptable.
The First Lady also paid a courtesy call on the Chief of Gambaga, Nayahaya Baumia, where she was presented with a traditional cloth and ram by the chief. Mohammed Hashmi's report from the northern region.
Traders at the Kluagogo market in the Yulokrobo municipality of the eastern region have expressed worry about the unsanitary conditions in which they have to sell their wares. They point to choked gutters and dumping of refuse close to the market center, which they say are not being addressed despite several complaints to the Yulokrobo Municipal Assembly to relocate the dump site. Haruna Yusuf Umpene reports.
The Kluagogo market is said to be one of the biggest markets in the country. Here, foodstuffs of all kinds, including plantain, cocoyam, maize and vegetables like cabbage, tomatoes, sweet pepper and others, are sold off on Tuesdays and Fridays for onward delivery to some of the other market centers in the country. The market is, however, said to be losing its importance because of the deteriorating sanitary conditions. According to some traders who spoke to Joy News, one of the biggest problems is lack of market structures. They also complained about the proximity of the refuse dump to the market. Haruna Yusuf Umpune's report from the Eastern region.
We're taking a break. We'll bring you business news next.
Hello, it's time for business with me, Matilda Nyakwa Kweku. Now, the Minerals Commission says it will soon put a freeze on new applications for gold prospecting. The new CEO of the Commission, Dr. Tony Obin, indicated the 90-day freeze is to enable them clean up the system and check the activities of companies who hold such licenses. Dr. Obin announced this during an interaction with the media where he outlined the Commission's vision under his leadership.
The prospecting license enables holders to conduct deep soil sampling to check for the existence of minerals. As of December 2013, 235 companies were holding prospecting licenses, with about 78% of them being Ghanaian-controlled companies. According to Dr. Tony Obin, these companies are required to periodically report their findings to the Commission. But he says most companies have ignored this directive, adding that even those that are not actively sampling for gold are still holding on to the concessions.
We will not be processing fresh applications for the grant of gold prospecting, the license for gold prospecting. Now that will not include those that are already in existence. Those that are already in existence, we will continue to process them. And it does not also include other minerals. All other minerals, we will still receive the applications, we'll still do all the things. But for gold because we have too many of the gold prospecting licenses that have expired but still being held onto, that are being held without providing the requisite report and all that. And I think it is very important that we clean that up to ensure that those who really mean business, because if you hold on to it, and I have the money to, or I really seriously want to do prospecting, it will be unfair for me to be waiting whilst you hold on to it.
To check concerns over the quality of minerals exported, Dr. Tonyobin has revealed the commission is set to establish an assay lab to monitor the purity of the minerals.
The purity, some say 90%, some say 92%. We want to be sure whether it is what we say it is. Now, to ensure that, the Minerals Commission has acquired a land at the airport where it intends to build an assay laboratory at the airport, so that before you send your gold, government would have tested to be sure that this is the quantity you said you were exporting and this is the purity you are going to export, and we are all happy.
He insists small-scale mining is beneficial to locals and the economy, and as such should be supported. He intends to make it convenient for small-scale miners to obtain licenses in a bid to sanitize the industry.
Now, bullion vans used by banks in Ghana to transport large volumes of cash are not secure enough, making them vulnerable to armed robbery and other forms of attacks. The study conducted by the E-Crime Bureau also cites general lapses in the banking system. Analysts believe could be exploited by miscreants. The Bank of Ghana, meanwhile, says some steps are being taken to address the shortcomings identified in the report.
Last year, we did a survey, and the survey reveals an interesting phenomenon. We have a lot of security challenges. Look, and one specific example is the vehicles, the bullion vans, which are used here to transport cash, for cash in transit. Serious problem with that. And today the governor confirmed that those vehicles do not meet international standards. We also have other issues of fraud, counterfeiting, and we have, a lot of issues with counterfeiting of currencies, documents within the banking sector. All these are areas of concern to, the industry.
The Cash Handling and Security Workshop is the first of its kind in the country, aimed at supporting financial institutions and other organizations on more efficient and secure ways of handling cash. The 4-day workshop assembled representatives from the Electricity Company of Ghana, Volta River Authority, the Ghana Armed Forces, the Bank of Ghana, as well as some banks and financial service companies. The founder and principal consultant of the E-Crime Bureau said that defects in the banking system required that government create the right regulatory environment.
The main agenda of this training program is to bring stakeholders together to examine the challenges relative to cash handling, the management of cash, dispensing of cash, processing of cash, dispensing of cash. It is, what I refer to as the cash handling ecosystem. I want to take, clue from the governor's speech that he has actually proposed that the bank collaborate with E-Crime so that we can intensify, this kind of awareness campaign. And that is what we seek to do. Of course, the government can also come in with regulations and directives that before a security organization will be given a license to transport cash, it should be the vehicles should meet standards, and there are criteria we are going to take them through that they have to meet before they can actually carry and transport cash.
The head of currency management at the Bank of Ghana, Jarvis Chodamaku, said steps were already being taken to improve on the security of the bullion vans.
But the concern is that the bullion vans we have today are not well fortified and not well secure. You get the point. You get it, most of them are just enhanced pickups. There's a canopy at the back, and there's just a small padlock at the back. These things do not make for true security of cash. We want to be sure that as we move the cash from the origin, it should get to its destination safely. And anything that cannot let this happen is a breach of security. But we may want to just set the standard straight. If you don't get it right, we don't serve you.
He added that government could collaborate with the E-Crime Bureau to bring about improvements in the banking sector as a whole.
The Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, in a bid to reduce the menace of illegal mining, has instituted a reclamation bond system where large-scale miners are obliged to make it clear to government how they plan to recover depleted lands at their own expense. The initiative is to be expanded later on to include small-scale miners. The Amansia West District is to be used as a pilot.
Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation Joe Otinyeje was addressing journalists at the press briefing in Accra. He expressed worry over the wanton disregard for the environment by some small and large-scale miners.
We realize that once they have disturbed the land, the environment, what is the guarantee that they will repair it at the end of their program? So then we said, no, we will not wait for you to exit the company. If we wait to the end, you may not have the ability to repair the damages that you've done to the environment. So these days we are asking them to put a reclamation bond, which is basically saying that you've disturbed the environment, and how much money would it cost us to be able to bring it back to where it used to be, if not 100%, 90%, 80%. And once it costs you so much, then we'll ask you to put the bond in a bank in Ghana controlled by EPA. The small-scale mines, I know my colleague in Lands and Natural Resources is looking at the law and working with Cabinet to see how the loopholes in the law can be addressed. Now the question is, what about the areas that they've destroyed? And that is why I'm working with the science community to take a pilot area in Ashanti, in the Mansie West area, and be able to tell us what procedures that we should go through in a typical reclamation or rehabilitation, and what is the cost.
The ministry, in collaboration with the EPA, has also instituted an environmental performance rating system, ACOBEN, which is currently assessing the environmental friendliness of the manufacturing sector and about 100 industries, and is to be extended to 2 to 5-star hotels as well as oil marketing companies. Although there are 14 air quality monitoring sites, the ministry is still worried about the level of air pollution and is set to implement a policy to check hazardous vehicular emissions.
One of the things that pollute the air is the kind of cars that we use around. Sometimes you follow a car and you see the kind of fuels that the car is generating. You know that is disturbing our air. We will soon come out with a project where all cars will be required to test the kind of emissions they are emitting. And the standards have been set. We are working with Ghana Standards Authority. I will get the legal framework, and once we are done, when you go to DVLA to check, there will be another table that will also test to see whether your car is going to destroy the environment or not.
The Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, together with CODVET, has meanwhile presented a grant of 500,000 cedis each to 5 research and development institutions to establish technology transfer and marketing centers in the institutions to create linkages between research and industry.
And still in business, Ashanti Regional Manager of the Quality Control Company Limited at the Ghana Cocoa Board is not happy some farmers continue to apply unapproved agrochemicals on their cocoa farms. According to him, such agrochemicals when applied on cocoa farms have the tendency of affecting the quality of the beans of the cocoa, decrease yields and the farmer incomes. Julius Kojo-Poku-Matheson is thus advising cocoa farmers to insist on approved agrochemicals and good farm practices to ensure the sustainability of Ghana's cocoa production.
Over the years, many modern agronomic practices have been adopted to help cocoa farmers increase crop yield, boost their incomes and cater properly for their families. Unfortunately, some farmers within the cocoa production areas in the Ashanti region fail to use the appropriate agrochemicals to fight black pod, capsides and some other diseases on the farm.
We keep on advising the farmers. It's one challenge that some of them use chemicals that are not approved. So we keep hammering on it. The Cocoa Research Institute has certified approved agrochemicals that we use to fight the capsids and then the black pod disease.
Julius Kojo-Poku-Matheson also mentioned the fermentation process and thorough drying of the cocoa beans as challenges confronting some cocoa farmers in the region. He said the fermentation process is expected to last 6 to 7 days, but some farmers are tempted to go below that in their efforts to beat competition in the market.
not thoroughly dry cocoa have all the consequences of mold formation, and mold formation is an undesirable defect in cocoa beans. So we expect that at every point in time, farmers must only present thoroughly dry cocoa to marketing clerks.
About 45,000 farmers would benefit from this year's premium of 4,500,000 Ghana cedis in bonuses from Amajaro, Ghana. Mohammed Nuruddin's report for Joy News.
And that's all for business with me, Matilda Nyakwa Kweku.
23 days to the World Cup, and definitely the Black Stars have begun their preparations. Black Stars coach Kwesi Appiah supervised his first training session ahead of the World Cup this evening at the Accra Stadium. Up to 14 members of the Black Stars were present for the light shake-up, which precedes their three-day non-residential camping ahead of the World Cup. World Cup preparations for the Black Stars finally began at the Accra Sports Stadium on Tuesday, with 14 players turning up. Players went through a light shake-up session with scores of fans cheering them on. Abdul Majid Waris had a knock after a collision with goalkeeper Fatal Dauda and limped off. The extent of injury is yet to be determined by the Black Stars medical team. Players present for the session included Fatal Dauda, Stephen Adams, Harrison Afol, Samuel Inkum, Jerry Akamenko, Rashid Sumaila, Christian Achu, Efriye Akwa, David Akam, Mubarak Wakasu, Rabiu Mohammed, Majid Waris, Ajiman Bedu and Kweja Samwa. Kwesi Appiah and his charges will continue their three-day non-residential camping tomorrow and are scheduled to leave the country on Saturday for a friendly with the Netherlands in Rotterdam. Even before that, the Black Stars will engage a local select side on Friday evening in a farewell encounter. A dinner with the President of the country, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, is also part of their plans. Adam Lassen-Korase, Albert Aduma, Daniel Opari and Jeffrey Schlupp missed Tuesday's session as they are yet to touch down the country. Likewise, Michael Asian and Kevin Prince Boateng, who have been cleared by the Ghana Football Association to join the team later in Europe. The Stars will engage South Korea in their final friendly game on June 9. Ghana will open her World Cup campaign on June 16 against the USA in Natal before facing Germany on June 21 in Fortaleza. Let's do some more now and get into the world of athletics. And 4 Ghanaian female athletes dominated the 2014 U.S. Junior College National Championships with a historic 8 gold medals, 2 silver and 1 bronze. The athletes are products of the academic scholarship initiated by the Ghana Athletics Association through its Education Trust Fund. 4 Ghanaian athletes won an unprecedented 8 gold medals at the 2014 U.S. National JUCO Outdoor Championships. Over the weekend, Western Texas College students Janet Amponsa secured a double, winning the 100 meters event in a time of 11.36 seconds before adding the 200 meters event, crossing the finish line with a 23.18 seconds clocking. The Ghanaian sprint queen also anchored her relay team to silver in the women's 4x400 meters. Elizabeth Dazi ended up with a bronze medal in the open long jump at the end of the second day of JUCO. She lost the gold and silver by 1 centimeter. Similarly, Baton Conti College middle distance specialist Agnes Abu showed guts to win a gold medal in the 800 meters event, her second after the 1,500 meters gold. Abu's teammate Lydia Mato, also of Baton Conti College, beat 2 Kenyans to win the 10,000 meters race. Mato won a tactical but slow race to secure her first national title in the 10,000 meters before clinching another gold medal in the 5,000 meters race. Elsewhere, Daniel Jesse led off his Western Texas College team to a national championship in the 4x400 meters when they put down a 3 minutes 4.99 seconds time to pip the South Plains College, who had the fastest qualifying time in the previous day's heats and the fastest time in the national ranking coming into the weekend's championships. Ghana also scored a second bronze medal in the women's 400 meters hurdles and a 7th place in the men's 400 meters flat. The Ghana Athletics Association is looking forward to next week's NAIA championships and the NCAA regionals, where some national athletes are also set to compete in. It will be recalled that the Ghana Athletics Association, through its Education Trust Fund, facilitated and helped secure academic scholarships for these athletes in the United States in January. And we continue our build-up to the UEFA Champions League UEFA Champions League final between Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid. There's good news for Real Madrid because Bale and Ronaldo will be fit for that particular game.